Well, good morning from Sydney, and welcome to my first Google On Air Hangout. I'm going to admit it from the very beginning, I'm a little nervous. It's the first time I've done a Google On Air Hangout and the first time I've done a reading for my new book. So I will do my best to stay calm and hopefully interesting and to keep you entertained for your time with me. Hi, I'm Chandler McDonald, and I am the very proud author of Innovation, How Innovators Think, Act, and Change Our World, which is a book that showcases interviews with more than 100 thought leaders and international innovators. I'm going to be reading you extracts from 4 chapters today. They're the Meconomics of the GDE, Innovating from the Economy to the Me-Economy, The State of the Nation Addressed, Taking Stock of How Things Stack Up, Innovating, Educating, and finally, The Power of the Me-dia, demanding what you want delivered, when, where, and how you want it. Published internationally in print by Kogan Page in October, the enhanced edition of Innovation, How Innovators Think, Act, and Change Our World, will have its official release next week, and it is an innovation in and of itself. It's only available online, and it is accompanied by an online ecosystem, SmartMark intelligent interactive bookmarks, and an interactive keyword exercise that incorporates the latest cutting-edge technology, including our flat world tech, Web 3.0, semantic, and HTML5. If you'd like to learn more about it, please do visit www.innovationinterviews.com. I suppose before I begin, I should tell you a little bit about myself. So I'll give you a short bit of background on who I am. The co-founder and executive vice president of Kimmick, which is a company I co-founded with my husband Michael, and which specializes in lateral thinking and implementing innovation on a global scale. A speaker, writer, advisory board member, I currently sit on Griffith University's Enterprise Advisory Board and the advisory board of Frost & Sullivan's Global Innovation and Leadership Community, as well as being an Academy Fellow of the International Entrepreneurship Academy. I am proudly the world's first branded Flat World Navigator and was included in the inaugural LinkedIn Power Profiles for Australia's list of 2012. Formerly, I was immersed in media as a writer and editor for national and international newspapers and magazines, as well as being the host-producer of an award-winning radio program. And during that time, I was extremely fortunate in seeking and securing interviews with hundreds of really fascinating people and personalities, including former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, former President of South Africa F.W. de Klerk, film director Terry Gilliam, theoretical physicist Brian Greene, and authors such as John Irving, Amy Tan, and Tom Wolfe. I think it's this background that was instrumental in helping me to begin the Capital I Innovation interview series, which was the precursor to the book from which I'll be reading today. So on that note, let's begin. Innovation, how world-class innovators rock their role. I'd like to begin this reading with a quote from jazz great Dave Brubeck. There's a way of playing safe, there's a way of using tricks, and there's the way I like to play, which is dangerously. When you're going to take a chance on making mistakes in order to create something you haven't created before. Introduction. The orchestration of innovation. 3 core axioms infuse this book. Innovation drives change, cultural, societal, and economic. Innovation in some form touches each and every one of us wherever we may be, as individuals, communities, and societies as a whole. And innovators deserve recognition, celebration, and applause. This book is my hands clapping, and I hope by the end of our time together you will have joined me in my ovation. I'm taking you on a journey around the world. On the way, I will introduce you to innovators who have broken the mold and moved their own particular mountains in fields as diverse as business and technology, engineering and education, government and social policy, media, medicine, and more. And while they are as diverse as any other group, as are the areas from which they draw inspiration, there are traits that link many, if not most of them. Though at times daunting, innovators are compelled to tell their truth, whether we, the public, want to hear them or not. Some boldly go where no one has been or thought to be before. Most are applauded for it, but that is not why they do it. Innovators run when most are content to walk. This is true even when their leaps of faith can leave some of us queasy with anxiety. Without their willingness to delve into the depths of the unknown, we would all be lessened. Their innovations have changed the way we see and the way we live in our world. Think where we might be if Michael Faraday hadn't brought us the innovation of electromagnetism, or Nicholas Tesla, the alternating current. Niels Bohr's work with quantum mechanics is the basis for all we take for granted in communication and modern electronics. And think of perhaps my favorite historical innovator, Johannes Gutenberg, he of the precious printing press. His work, which brought books to the masses, led to reformations in religion, politics, and society as a whole. Looking forward, innovation will be as important in our next great leap forward as it was during the Industrial Revolution. Without the steam engine and spinning jenny, our world economy would look much different. In all likelihood, the same can be said for those innovations that are now or are soon to be presenting themselves. It is these innovations which will ensure that we survive and, with any luck, thrive in the new knowledge-based global digital economy, the GDE. And it is innovators that we have to thank for this. Together, we're going to find out what makes innovators tick, talk, and tremble. Perhaps by understanding these things, we'll be able to understand the future which awaits us a bit more comfortably. In the innovation interviews, you'll find answers from artists and authors, engineers and entrepreneurs, doctors and designers, educators and architects, scientists, explorers of space, business people, bankers, politicians, printers, and many, many more. There are those who focus on the micro, the macro, the profit, the public, the bold, the beautiful, the richest, the poorest, the sun, the moon, the earth, and almost everything in between. There are no right or wrong answers in this book. There is only the exploration and the celebration of innovation and of how these world-class innovators rock their roles. In traveling through innovation, you will also have an opportunity to explore your own innovative thinking. I begin each chapter of the book with a word cloud. There are commonalities, the themes, if you will, that link and lead. They are the warp and weft, the context and concepts, the melodies and harmonies of this symphony of extraordinary and extraordinarily innovative individuals. Chapter 1, which features in both the print and the enhanced edition interviews and quotes from, among others, co-founder of the Innovation Management Institute, Julian Keith Lauren, entrepreneur and freelance.com founder Matt Berry, award-winning entrepreneur and influencer Tara Hunt, Meetup co-founder and CEO Scott Hefferman, Chief Innovation Officer at Immersive Media Kayam Wakil, Vincent Carbone, co-founder and COO of Bright Idea, Matt Flannery, CEO and co-founder of Kiva, Spark.com CEO Ben Rigby, and former Citigroup CTO and chairman of its GTS, Development, Innovation, and Learning Centers, Yobi Benjamin. The me-economics of the GDE, innovating from the economy to the me economy. We are in the midst of an unprecedented time of change and upheaval. It is, therefore, a time of fantastic opportunity for those who act decisively, and a graveyard for those who do not. The world is changing irrevocably due to three major influences and innovations in business, some incremental, all insistent. First, the era of the engaged and empowered end user is here. With this ever-increasing expectations, with their ever-increasing expectations, this innovation of the individual is underlining the me in me-economics and the me economy. Second, end users are becoming ever more aware of the value of their data and their right to control and own it. And third, mobile, agile businesses in the GDE are encompassing an ever-flattening world. So the most tragic mistakes one could make are believing that it's just business as usual and that the ascendancy of the West is irrevocable. That notwithstanding, we're going to see opportunities and markets explode exponentially in both geography and dimensions as the inhabitants of the majority world, where the majority of the world's population lives, not only come online, but become avid competitors, not just consumers. It's an exciting frontier that is ever more impossible to opt out of. So with that in mind, let's look at these issues of innovation in more detail. In the late 15th century, the Gutenberg press was an innovation that began a societal revolution. It removed the need for cloistered experts, the technocrats of their time, by disseminating the printed word and spreading the democratization of knowledge. This led to what could be described as the glimmers of what would eventually become a knowledge-based economy. Another Gutenberg-esque revolution is upon us, and it is being made manifest by the transformational technologies which are enabling end-user empowerment. It is distinguishing itself in various ways, perhaps most importantly in the underlining of the power of the economies of attention and information ownership, foundational pillars of me-economics. They put individuals rather than institutions at the heart of the GDE. Successful companies in the GDE will be those that understand that beyond social networking, they need to create and maintain thriving business communities. These communities are at the heart of this obvious opportunity for the evolution of social platforms and the spread of their influence. And evolve they must, along with their business models in this era of the empowered end user. End users have been and will continue to be more and more discerning about what content is relevant to them. The organizations prepared for this change to the balance of power will effectively enhance and expand their relationship between their business and their communities and the empowered end users within them. And the world's economy is changing, and it may be a bumpy ride, more so for some than others, but it can be equated to something like the Wild West of yore in its current state of flux and a free-for-all for the online stakes. But unlike those classic Westerns, the heroes of this economic era will not be those who stand still, silent, and alone. The success stories of the GDE will be those businesses and organizations that collaborate and communicate with each other, and with their ever more expectant, empowered end users. Together, they face a frontier which, though admittedly often uncertain, is borderless and boundless in its potential. I'm going to move to Chapter 2, The State of the Nation Addressed, which features interviews and quotes from, among others, Innovation founder and CEO Demra Abedin, former director of the Office of E-Diplomacy at the U.S. Department of State Richard Bawley, Commissioner of the United Nations Broadband Commission for Digital Development and ITU's Special Envoy for the Commission, Suvi Linden, former BT CTO and winner of numerous awards, including the IEEE Millennium Medal, the Queen's Award for Innovation, and the Martlesham Medal, Peter Cochrane, Nicholas Gruen, chairman of the Australian Centre for Social Innovation, CEO, co-founder and strategist at Atelier Tomorrow, Robert Jacobson, Board of Innovation founder Philip de Ritter, Sunil Malhotra, who's founder and head of Creative Culture at Ideas Farm, founder and CEO of the Preikelt Group and the Preikelt Foundation, Gustav Preikelt, TED Senior Fellow, founder and director of Mideast Youth and crowdvoice.org, Ezra Al-Shefe, digital democracy expert, open government specialist in the ICT for Gov program at the World Bank's Institute's Open Governance Cluster, Tiago Peixoto, and former Zappos CEO and the instigator of Las Vegas's Downtown Project, Tony Hsieh. The State of the Nation Addressed, taking stock of how things stack up. Every year, the President of the United States reports on the condition of America and his plans for moving it forward via his State of the Union address. I believe that it is incumbent upon all of us, wherever we may live, to address the state of our own particular nation's innovation. We must look at it from a micro, macro, and supranational perspective, because innovation in all its guises has a profound effect on all of us, personally and professionally, as individuals, communities, nations, and global citizens. And quite frankly, we undoubtedly have an effect on it and its propensity for success on a local and global stage. Even if you don't have a passport, and let's face it, the majority of the world's population does not, you are a citizen of the world. As such, the effect that innovation has on you, particularly economically and more politically, will only continue to grow. Communities throughout the world, be they villages, towns, cities, states, or nations, will both consciously and unconsciously have an ever-increasing appetite for innovation. This may manifest itself in a myriad of ways. It may be an unceasing thirst for ever faster, ever quicker internet connectivity, broadband or otherwise. Perhaps it will be illustrated by a resolution to reduce reliance on carbon-based fuels and their current gargantuan footprint on a fragile ecosystem. Already there is the determination to create new economies which empower local control and diversity as they engage in the ever-flattening world of the GDE. As these issues and many more are made apparent, it will be through innovation, innovative thought, and innovative leadership that their solutions are designed and brought to pass. It will become ever more evident that it is nations with a vision that involves the inherent innovative capability of a workforce that is multicultural, multi-ethnic, and immigration friendly, which will be more likely to thrive rather than just survive in the knowledge-based GDE. There will be nations comprised of smart, innovative communities, companies, and businesses. Regardless of their size, smart, collaborative communities are the engine that will drive the GDE. For these communities to flourish, an underlying innovative spirit and infrastructure are necessary. This infrastructure includes, but is not limited to, accessible, affordable services such as healthcare, education, and transportation, as well as a leadership that acknowledges the inherent importance of innovation and innovative approaches to long-standing problems. Now is the time when the necessity for innovation and innovative leadership is imperative. As wells run dry and industries evolve to rely less on ores dug out of big holes in the ground, nations with economies that currently rely on natural resources may find themselves holding onto a shovel which delivers decidedly less booty into their coffers. Natural resources may be a short-term blessing, but a long-term curse to a nation looking to succeed in the competition for innovation. By overweighting the importance of mining, for instance, and undervaluing the importance of a technologically collaborative ecosystem of innovation, many nations will suffer a brain drain as more and more innovators, particularly those with an entrepreneurial spirit, head offshore to develop and capitalize upon their ideas. It is incumbent upon governments at all levels to put strategic and structural plans into place which leverage the IN-Q, the innovation quotient of their workforce and education systems. Additionally, certain nations are, I believe to their detriment in the innovation stakes, renowned for the risk aversion of their populations. Though it is admittedly difficult to legislate, governments that encourage their citizens to take calculated risks are more likely to have innovations to hand upon which economies can flourish. Innovators constantly face the likelihood of failure. The fact that they move forward in the face of this Sisyphean situation, which sees them repeatedly guiding their goals up the steep hill of potential, all the whilst aware that it could just as easily roll back and crush them, is what separates them from the would-haves and could-haves. The last thing they need is a government that ignores their achievements, let alone lies in wait to permanently punish them for any failures they may meet along the way, by way of such things as credit blacklisting, perennial personal liability, and equating failure with fraud. The coming era is that of the empowered citizen end user. They are becoming stronger, louder, and more emboldened. And this is a good thing, as it is a sign of a healthy, innovative society, one that is not frightened of nonconformist creative thinkers within their midst. It's unlikely that innovation is specific to any particular country, culture, or citizenry. But I believe the state of a nation's innovation can be judged on its government's commitment to the social welfare of its people, the empowerment engendered by it provisioning of a decent education to everyone, the accessibility of a collaborative technological infrastructure, and its acknowledgement that the failure of an idea does not equate to the failure of the innovative ideal. I'm now going to read you excerpts from chapter 5. Now you notice that what I'm reading you are excerpts from essays. These are the essays that open each chapter and are written by myself. Each chapter includes in-depth and shorter essays from the international thought leaders and innovators that I've mentioned, and many more. I'm not reading those interviews to you because I wouldn't presume to take on the voice of the people who so graciously and generously spoke so openly, so forthrightly, without spin and jargon when participating in the book. I really cannot suggest strongly enough, not just because it is my book, but because I am so passionate about the voices of these innovators being heard and the expertise and insights that they so willingly shared. I want that to be something that you are able to use as a resource. So I really hope that you are able to purchase a copy of either the print or the enhanced edition of Innovation, How Innovators Think, Act, and Change Our World. So, the reading from the introductory essay from Chapter 5, which features interviews and quotes from, among others, President and co-founder of the Floating University, Adam Glick, Global Ambassador for the Singularity University and Chairman of Confab, Salim Ismail, entrepreneur, philanthropist, diplomat, and founder of the non-profit organizations WeForest.com and co-founder of Coder Dojo, Bill Dow, founder and CEO of Digital Royalty and Digital Royalty University, Amy Jo Martin, Elizabeth Goodman, Professor of Inclusive Design and Chair of Creative Technology Innovation at University College Dublin, board member at the Innovation Academy, founder and director of Smart Lab, director of research at Future Lab Education, and winner of numerous international accolades, including the BlackBerry Outstanding Women in Technology and the Microsoft Innovation in Education Award. Innovating, educating. I am exceedingly happy to grab an opportunity to quote Pink Floyd, particularly from Another Brick in the Wall, which is, I think, a song that most of us are aware of. In the song they state, "We don't need no education." But in the 21st century, I'm afraid that message is totally wrong. What we don't need is the same education. And as for thought control, due to innovative techniques, technologies, and tools, those being educated are more likely to be controlling the thoughts being taught than ever before. Everywhere you look, education and the systems that surround and support it are changing. Around the world, more people are accessing more education, particularly online. And this will have a lasting effect on their lives and livelihoods, as well as affecting economies at a local, national, and supranational level. It will certainly change the industry of education as we know it. As the majority world takes up the online education available to them, there is little need for them to incur the expense of travel, both nationally and internationally, to gain access to texts and teachers that were formerly out of reach. However, it must be noted that there are many national budgets that currently rely on the influx of and income from foreign students. When that income dips, as nations such as the UK and Australia can readily attest to, it bites the budget. Simply put, fewer foreign students affects a nation's GDP in the GDE. As of yet, there are still improvements needed in the online education arena before it can be given an A grade. For instance, accessing online education must be simple, secure, and inexpensive, which means that access to the internet and mobile data must be affordable. Additionally, innovative tools must be developed that do not depend on high-speed broadband access, which is unlikely to be available to the bulk of the majority world for some time. If they are to be ubiquitously used, these tools must empower and enable seamless cooperation and collaboration. Therefore, they must be multilingual in nature. Online educational programs will be expected to differentiate themselves in terms of content, price, brand, and accreditation availability. Innovations in the sector will mean that one size will not fit all, as online students will soon expect to study a curriculum in a style that has been distinctly designed either for or by them. One can only wonder what is on the cards for teachers. Will they be expected to be entertainers that are accessible to their students anywhere, anytime? Historically, teachers have spent huge numbers of hours with their charges. As such, they've been in a position to be particularly influential. Who will take up this mission when students no longer attend classes but merely log on? The answers to these questions may change quickly as more technology and tools come to the fore. What will not alter is the need for those in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, to embrace the evolution to STEAM with the addition of art to the mix. And acknowledge that culture is an imperative to collaborative innovation. It is with the cross-fertilization, the mixing and mingling, if you will, of all these topics, which leads to innovative thought, processes, and products. According to the U.S. President's Council of Economic Advisors, nearly $4 trillion US dollars is spent globally on education on an annual basis. Trillion. This is nearly 6% of the world's GDP. With numbers like that, it comes as no surprise that there is a battle brewing between those who see education as a lucrative for-profit business and those who view it as a non-profit human right. And fee or free can be a divisive question. Just look at how polarizing and politically charged open knowledge can be, as evidenced by the attempted prosecution and eventual suicide of Aaron Swartz, co-founder of the online free content provider Reddit. Charged with stealing millions of archived scientific journals from MIT with a view to making them freely available, some see Swartz as a hero of the open source, open innovation movement, while others see him as intentionally ruining the economic value of information. This, as the UK and the European Commission spearhead the call to make tax-funded academic research available for free. And Harvard encourages its faculty to make their research available via open access journals and avoid academic journals and publishers that keep articles behind paywalls. Institutions could save millions of dollars a year if the requirement to pay for access to academic research is removed. And these savings could potentially fund scholarships and further research. But one must ask, where does the balance lie between intellectual property rights and the right to a proper education? What is certain is that new business models will be required for educational establishments and the industries, such as academic publishers, that surround them. It is incumbent upon all parties within academia to acknowledge that the system is in need of repair and readjustment. In order for academia to maintain its relevance, it needs to arm students with the tools to create a better standard of living for themselves, their families, their communities, and society as a whole. The last chapter I'm going to read from is chapter 6, The Power of the Media. This features interviews and quotes from, among many others, a man with more than 3 decades of experience in network, cable, new and online media, the multi-award-winning David Borman. And I must say, talking to David, for me, was an enlightening experience in many regards, particularly when he spoke about how he had attempted to make change more than 20 years ago whilst in the midst of a particular organization. He was ignored, an opportunity was missed, and he shared the memo he wrote to the leaders of that organization, which is included in the book. I will not give you more details than that, as I have to leave something to how you explore, but it in itself is well worth a deep read. Also included is award-winning innovative strategist and creative director Faris Jacob, Seth Godin, deemed America's greatest marketer, renowned futurist, author and advisor Gerd Leonhardt, founder of socialmedia.biz and Social Bright J.D. Lassica, Claire Diaz-Ortiz, who is leader of social innovations at Twitter, and managing partner at Innosight, author and chairman of the Ideas Ventures Investment Committee, Scott Anthony. The power of the media, demanding what you want delivered, when, where, and how you want it. The innovation, influence, and empowerment of bloggers and microbloggers has created a colossal displacement of power, both politically and commercially. Perhaps this shift, which is as deep as it is wide, is seen nowhere more so than in media. Oscar Wilde, in his familiar fine form, noted, "The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about." I don't know if he'd be of the same opinion in this era of social media, incessant pop-up ads, 24/7 news, channels, chatter, Twitter postings, and other media outlets. With a media where individuals are at the heart of the subject matter, rather than it mattering what is at the heart of the subject, there is an understandable semblance of schizophrenia surrounding the term viral. It's great if your good news spreads rapidly around the world, but woe betide those whose bad news escapes the confines of their firewall and runs amok through the numerous networks that proliferate online. It is increasingly necessary for businesses who are part and parcel of what is considered traditional media to bring innovation and innovative thought and thinking to bear. Without doubt, long-established business models are long gone for all but the most stubborn, and some would say foolhardy. The book industry is in upheaval. Publishers historically have had the job of putting books on shelves, but as is the case with ebooks and enhanced online ecosystems, as evidenced by the industry-first enhanced edition of this book, Innovation: How Innovators Think, Act, and Change Our World, the question is, what is a publisher's job if there are no bookshelves to stock? How will they reinvent themselves? It is incumbent upon the industry to find new ways to be relevant, perhaps by finding ways for readers to browse virtual books and virtual bookshelves in ways that are as evocative as visiting their favorite bookstore used to be. Fear-free. Fee or free is a conundrum, eating away at the business models of traditional media outlets. Very few ink and paper newspapers have been successful in finding a charge-for-access online model that hasn't lost them both revenue and readers. For every success story, there are a multitude of media failures left lost and floundering, if not completely flopped. One of the consequences has been a consolidation of companies. Has the fact that so much media is now concentrated in so few hands had an adverse effect on the quality made available? Has new media made traditional journalism passé, or perhaps further dumbed down the dailies? Is it wrong that many people now look to a self-confessed comedian, Jon Stewart, for insight and investigation on Comedy Central's The Daily Show? Do we have a right to demand more from those who profess to be professionals? There are certainly demands for greater transparency in the media, not least in declaring vested interests involved in setting precedent and agendas. Of course, bloggers and microbloggers are often partisan, but generally they are not paid to be or assumed to be impartial. Conversely, those who call themselves journalists should be expected to bring judicious analysis, along with a breadth and depth of knowledge and experience to their stories. A battle continues to rage for the heart of independent media, one that is not hamstrung by censorship, partisanship, and propaganda. Just as empowered end users have the ability and wherewithal to create their own sources of news via online blogs, news feeds, etc., they also have the capacity to demand a media which provides them with reporting which is thorough, deepened by contextual understanding, and seasoned with experience and empathy. It remains to be seen whether they will do so. I'm going to close my reading with this summary. In the introduction, I noted that there were no right or wrong answers, and that is a truism I stand by. However, innovation is not a spectator sport. It is active. You have to do it. So ask yourself, is innovation something that happens to you because of you, or in spite of you. If you don't like your answer, do something about it. Do something. Innovation and innovating can be great fun. Perhaps the best exemplars of that are children who, in exploring the world for the first time, are inveterate innovators. Constantly curious, children are full of wonder. They imagine, ask why and what if. They're unafraid to touch, to try, to run and fall. They get back up and try again. They play and are well aware that it's much more fun to play together than to play alone. So, in that spirit, tag. You're it. I'd like to thank you for listening to the excerpts. I have very much enjoyed reading them. It was an experiment for me, both to do a live reading of the book, which I have never done before, and a Google Hangout, which I have never done before. And I think it went quite well. I want to particularly do a shout out to someone I found on Twitter very recently, Dustin W. Stout, who magically tweeted exactly what I needed this morning to figure out how to work the Google Hangout in a very simple, un-Googledy-goop sort of way. So thank you, Dustin. I appreciate your tweets, and you are an exemplar of why I hang out on Twitter as much as I do, and how powerful social media can be as a tool and a repository of information. I have had several emails come in leading up to this broadcast asking me questions about how I managed to get the interviews I did, particular information about the differences in the enhanced edition to both print and ebooks. What I've found is particularly true is that all of the answers to these questions have already been answered in what was a very in-depth interview I did last month for Design Feast magazine. Quite frankly, it's a great interview and a really good read, and I'm going to post a link to that along with this video so that you can, at your leisure, explore the backstory to not just how the book came about, but the technology, the flat world technology that is supporting the enhanced edition and its smart marks and interactive keynote exercises and other technology that we believe is the next step forward in both publishing and books in particular. That said, what I am going to do is give you a break from me, and I'm going to call it 10 minutes early so that you can maybe go and grab a cup of coffee before you start the rest of your day. I am very easy to find online, so if you do have particular questions as you go about your day or your week or when reading the book, please feel free to contact me. You can send questions about the book to bookinfo@kimmick.com. You can find me certainly on Twitter at either Kimmick Flatworld or Kim Chandler. You can find me on, obviously, Google+. You can find me on LinkedIn. I am in About Me. There is not a lot of places that I haven't put a little fingerprint or footprint on. So please feel free to reach out and connect with me. And if you have stories about innovation that you want to share, if there are innovators that you think should be or could be interviewed, if you are an innovator who would like to be interviewed, get in touch. I'm always interested in connecting and expanding the resource of knowledge that we're building. The enhanced edition of the book will be consistently updated. So though there are hundreds of extra interviews in it over and above what is included in the print edition, that repository of knowledge will continue to grow, and there will be new interviews that are added on regular intervals. So anybody who purchases a copy of that will be part of a growing ecosystem. You can see more information about the book and take a look at some of the tech that's involved at www.innovationinterviews.com. And on that note, I will once again say thank you very much for joining me. I've really enjoyed this. I wasn't sure I would, but I really have. So thank you, and I'm wishing you happy innovating.